Hello, everyone. Namaste to all Gadgeted Officer, IS, IPS, Dr. Surgeon. I wanted to quote success in competitive exam does not come overnight. It comes with your consistent effort, focus, and the right guidance. Every single update you learn today is not just a piece of news, but a stepping stone toward your dream career. So stay curious, stay disciplined, and keep learning because knowledge is the real power that will set you apart in the exam hall. Welcome to today's session of Weekly Current Affairs Part 3, 16 to 23rd August. This video will cover the most important updates from 42 News from science and technology along with other crucial important current affairs that are highly relevant for UPSC, BPSC, UPPCS, SSC, banking, IBPS, SBI, NDA, CDS, ACIO, and many more competitive exams. My dear aspirants, remember every great achievement begins with the decision to try. Remember, every great achievement begins with the decision to try, even if the journey feels tough. My dear aspirants, even if the journey feels tough, keep reminding yourself I am preparing today for the life I dream of tomorrow. I am preparing today for the life I dream of tomorrow. So keep revising, keep practicing, and most importantly, believe in yourself. Consistency will always beat talent if talent does not work hard. Let's get started with the today's current affairs, the remaining after 42 news. About my English and biology series, I am going to upload many more videos related with the English and biology grammar. So keep learning, keep growing, and success will surely be yours. Next news 42 news is saltwater crocodile population rises in Sundarban. So it is a news about that the population of saltwater crocodile is increasing in Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. The 2025 survey by the Forest Department reveals increase in saltwater crocodile numbers in the Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. This increase is most important in the hatchline category, a rare site in this challenging mangrove terrain. So this growth, this increase indicates improving condition for one of the largest reptile on earth, saltwater crocodile. Population growth review. The estimated saltwater crocodile population in Sundarban Biosphere Reserve ranges from 220 to 242 individual in 2025. So it shows an increase from 204 to 234 range recorded in 2024. Direct sightings in 2025 counted 213 crocodiles, including 125 adults, 88 juveniles, and 23 hatchlings. So it is a marked rise from the previous year's 71 adults, 41 juveniles, and only 2 hatchings. So this data rate stands at 1 crocodile per 5.5 kilometers of creek. About survey methodology, the study covered 1,168 kilometers of creeks, which is 64% of the water channel in Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. It employed systematic surveys, GPS mapping also, and habitat analysis to ensure accurate data collection. These methods help identify population distribution and habitat preferences of the saltwater crocodile in the region. About habitat preferences, saltwater crocodiles favor creeks and rivers with high tide widths below 180 meters. They show tolerance to varying water salinity, especially during winter months. However, rising salinity levels could threaten their habitat, reducing suitability and conservation in the Sundarbans. As hypercarnivorous apex predators, saltwater crocodiles play important role in maintaining ecosystem health. They help clean waterways by feeding on carcasses and wild remains, thus contributing to the balance of aquatic life in their habitats. There are many conservation efforts. West Bengal has led crocodile conservation since the 1970s. The, Bhagabatpur Crocodile Project started in 1976 has released 577 crocodile into the wild. So the project crocodile project name is a Bhagabatpur. Such efforts have contributed to the steady population growth observed in recent years. Odisha pioneering conservation work also complement these regional efforts. There are some climate changes challenges also. The Sundarban face threats from climate change, including rising salinity and habitat loss. So these factors may impact the long-term survival of saltwater crocodiles. Continuous monitoring and adapting conservation strategies are important to mitigate this to reduce this risk. Next news is Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill 2025. The Indian Parliament passed the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2025. This legislation aims to boost the mining sector by promoting transparency, enhancing production, and facilitating trade in critical minerals. This bill introduces key reforms to the 1957 Act, which is focusing on strategic minerals important for technology and industry. Recent legislative developments: the bill was passed by the Lok Sabha on 12th August and cleared by the Rajya Sabha 19th August 2025. The opposition staged a walkout during the Rajya Sabha debate, citing concern over the bill's implication. The government defended the bill as a revolutionary reform to increase mineral production and market efficiency. So it is important for technology and industry, for mineral production also, and for market efficiency. About inclusion of critical and strategic minerals, the bill allows mining leaseholders to add rare minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, gold, and silver to their existing leases without paying extra royalties. For other minerals, payment of royalties and auction premium applies. This flexibility aims to accelerate extraction of mineral crucial for electronics, aerospace, agriculture, and space technology. Expansion of National Mineral Exploration Trust. The National Mineral Exploration Trust is renamed the National Mineral Exploration and Development. So its scope widens to fund both exploration and development of mines. Contribution from leases increases from 2 to 3% of royalties. The trust can now international exploration project. So the trust can now support offshore and international exploration projects. Removal of sale limits for captive mines. The bill removes this cap, allowing unrestricted sale of minerals. Means previously captive mines could sell only up to 50% of their mineral production after meeting internal needs. So this bill removes this cap, allowing unrestricted sales of minerals. It also empowers state governments to permit sale of mineral dumps within leased areas, improving resources utilization. About extension of mining lease areas, the bill permits one-time extension of mining or composite lease areas for deep-seated minerals found below 200 meters. Extension can be up to 30% for composite license and 10% for mining leases. This provision supports the extraction of minerals at greater depth, encouraging deeper mining activities. Introduction of mineral exchanges. The bill establishes an authority to regulate mineral exchanges, which are electronic platform for trading minerals and for trading metals. Central government will frame rules for registration, fees, prevention of market manipulation, and grievance redressal. So this aims to create a transparent and efficient market for mineral trade. The reform are expected to to improve mineral production, reduce corruption, and also improve market mechanism by focusing on critical minerals. The bill aligns with India's strategic interest in technology and energy sectors. It also supports the government national critical mineral mission with a rupees 34,000 crore budget. Next news is GST and tobacco taxation challenges in India. India recently completed 8 years of good and service tax. India recently completed 8 years of GST. This milestone offers an opportunity to review its impact, particularly on tobacco taxation. GST has been a landmark reform, helping improving transparency and tax compliance. Yet, tobacco taxation under GST presents unique challenges balancing public health, revenue, and livelihoods. Tobacco taxation, GST unified multiple indirect taxes into one system. It enhanced revenue collection and compliance also. Tobacco products attract GST and an additional compensation cess. The cess was introduced to offset state revenue losses and is set to end in 2026. Tobacco taxation aims to reduce consumption, but most consider economic and social factors. About economic importance, India is the world's second largest tobacco producer. Over 45 million people depend on tobacco farming and related industries. So it is a large number of population, that is a 45 million people depend on tobacco farming and related industries. The sector contributes over rupees 72,000 crore in tax revenues annually. Tobacco exports add around 12,000 crore in foreign exchange. This makes tobacco an important economic crop despite health concern. It is about the low tax on cigarette in India, Brazil, Greece, Thailand, UK, and many other countries impose much higher taxes on cigarettes. So it is indicating about the WHO recommendation. And while the Indian government imposed certain taxes and duties on products such as tobacco and alcohol, they are still much below the WHO's recommendation level of 75%. This chart is given about the tax on cigarettes as percentage of per capital GDP. So in all countries, USA, Japan, China, Germany, Australia, Malaysia, Pakistan, UK, Thailand, India, 6.54. So impact of high tobacco taxes. High taxes make legal cigarettes expensive. If there is a more tax on cigarettes, tobacco, so it makes legal cigarettes expensive. India ranks among the costliest cigarette markets globally. This lower affordability and shift consumption to illicit products. Illicit cigarettes evade taxes, lack health warnings, and pose greater health risk, causes more health risk because of illicit illegal cigarettes. This undermines public health goals and encourages a parallel illegal economy. About illicit trade, illegal trade, and its consequences. Illicit illegal cigarette trade is a growing issue. In 2023, smuggled cigarettes made up over 25% of the market. Seizures in every 2024 were valued at rupees 250 crore with annual estimates near rupees 600 crore. Actual illicit volumes may be much higher as smuggling causes job losses. Estimate at 370,000 in 2019-20 and funds criminal activities. Enforcement agencies require advanced tool and stronger laws to combat this threat. Tax structure and policy recommendation. India's tobacco taxation mixes and value based and specific taxes. Historically, specific taxes provide transparency and stability. GST reintroduces strong and value based components. Specific taxes reduce tax evasion and promote quality production. A hybrid tax model with a dominant specific component aligns with global best practices seen in the United Kingdom, Sweden, and Thailand. The compensation cess was temporary to protect states from revenue loss, with GST collection rising. Its continuation is debated. Any replacement should avoid increasing tax burdens. A stable tax system is important for economic growth and public health. Tobacco taxation must balance revenue, health objectives, and livelihoods for sustainable development of any country. Next news is Constitution 130th Amendment Bill. The Constitution 113th Amendment Bill 2025 has recently stirred intense debate, recently arised intense debate in the Indian Parliament. Amid uproar in the Lok Sabha, the bill was referred to a joint parliamentary committee for detailed examination. The bill proposes changes to Article 75 of the Constitution, focusing on the disqualification of minister detained for serious offences, involved in serious offences. This article explains the bill's provision, parliamentary responses, and the role of the Joint Committee. Provision of the 130th Amendment Bill. The bill mandates that any minister arrested and detained for 30 consecutive days on charges of serious offences punishable by 5 years or more imprisonment shall lose their ministerial post. The president will remove such a minister on the advice of the chief minister by 31st day of detention. This is the reason it is known as a 130th Amendment Bill. So, if the Chief Minister fails to advise removal, the Minister will automatically cease to hold office. However, the bill allows the Minister to be reappointed after release from custody. Amendment to Article 75. Article 75 currently outlines the appointment and responsibilities of the Council of Ministers. So, this amendment adds a clause to ensure minister detained for serious criminal allegation cannot hold office beyond 30 days. The bill aims to uphold constitutional morality and good governance by preventing detained minister from exercising power. So, the Constitution 130 Amendment Bill 2025 has been introduced in the lower house of the Indian Parliament with multiple objectives. While introducing the bill, the government has argued that the amendment is essential to improve governance and uphold constitutional morality. The significance of the Constitution 130th Amendment Bill can be summarized as follow. It improves governance. Elected representatives are expected to uphold high standard of integrity. When ministers face serious criminal charges, their presence in government can weaken governance. The bill ensured that government remains free of leaders charged with serious offenses. Second significance is constitutional morality. Means it's the sacking of sitting ministers, chief minister, or the prime minister when faced with serious criminal charges. Look to uphold the constitutional morality by not allowing the perpetrators to run the governments. By not allowing the perpetrators to run the governments when faced with the serious criminal charges. Next significance is its help in addressing constitutional gap. The constitution does not define any process for removing a minister facing serious charges and detention. The president and governors have the power to remove minister, but these powers are exercised based on the advice of the council of minister. So this creates confusion and has often led to misinterpretation of the provision. Next significance is it help in decreasing criminalization of politics. India has been suffering from the issue of criminalization of politics. Several ministers and elected representatives face criminal cases, but still hold their offices. With this amendment, leaders facing criminal charges can be kept out of the governance. There is some opposition concern also. The bill faces strong opposition in parliament. Critics argue it violates the presumption of innocence by punishing minister on arrest rather than conviction. Opposition parties fear misuse of the bill to target political rivals and destabilize state government. Allegations were made that Central Investigative Agency could be used selectively against opposition leaders. Leaders like Mamata Banerjee described the bill as a threat to democracy and federalism, warning it could be lead to authoritarian control. AIMIMS Asaduddin Owaisi criticized the bill for undermining the separation of powers by marking the executive act as judge and executioner. About joint parliamentary committee, the bill was referred to a joint parliamentary committee. It comprises members from both houses of parliament. The Joint Parliamentary Committee is to scrutinize the bill in detail and submit a report before the next parliamentary session. Such committees are temporary and dissolve after completing their mandate. While their recommendations carry persuasive weight, they are not binding on the government. There are some implications also. The bills focus on removed based on arrest challenges, establish legal principles, including the presumption of innocence. It introduces a new threshold for ministerial accountability, potentially increasing political instability. So the bill marks ongoing tension between governance reforms and protection of democratic rights. The provision for reappointment after release offers some flexibility, but it does not fully address concern about misuse. Next news is Urban Challenge Fund. India's urban landscape is evolving, improving rapidly. The 2027 census is expected to show over 60% of the population living in 60% of the population living in urban areas, up from 31% in 2011. Kerala's urbanization alone is projected to reach 96% by 2036. These increase marks the urgent need to modernize city infrastructure funding models. The Union Budget 2025 introduced the Urban Challenge Fund with rupees 1 lakh crore to drive this change. The Union Budget fund marks a shift from entitlement grants to competitive performance linked funding. So it focuses on sustainable growth. It focuses on innovation and private sector participation. About India's urban growth and challenges, India's urban areas are increasingly expanding fast due to population growth and economic shift. The census define urban areas by population density, workforce in agriculture. Many cities face urban creep where rural areas gradually urbanize. Existing infrastructure is overburdened. Capital expenditure on urban utility has been low at 0.6% of GDP between 2011 and 2018, far below needs. Outdated funding and poor municipal capacity impede progress. The 74th constitutional amendment aimed to empower cities but has not fully succeeded. A new funding model. The Urban Challenging Fund introduces a rupees 1 lakh crore fund to support projects in growth hubs, city redevelopment, and water and sanitation. It offers 25% central funding. Cities must raise at least 50% of the project cost through bonds, loans, or public private partnership. The fund rewards ambitious, innovative projects with clear revenue models. So, this approach aimed to crowd in private investment and improve financial sustainability. The UCF avoids overlap with other schemes by focusing on high impact projects like transits hub and a smart water system. There are few lessons from past urban initiatives. Previous programs like the Smart City Mission showed limited private sector involvement. Only 6% of project use PPS and financial closure was achieved in just 12% of cases by 2023. Viability gap function for social infrastructure has had bureaucratic delays and poor oversight. Municipal bonds remain underused due to weak credit worthiness of urban local bodies. So these are the lessons from past urban initiatives. These challenges tell the need of for a fresh approach that encourages transparency, efficiency, and innovation. There are few recommendations for effective UCF implementation. Seven key recommendation guides the UCF success. First, embed life cycle management with operation and citizen satisfaction as core element. Second, de-risk investment using credit guarantees and revenue protection. Third is to improve cities' own resource mobilization, especially property tax and user fees. Next is to build capacity in tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 cities with technical and financial support. Next is to provide incentive innovation through targeted challenges like water security and zero waste. Next is to focus on projects with strong revenue models and avoid duplicating other schemes. Next is to provide ensure institutional clarity with a lean, agile governance body that encourages competition and autonomy. So these are the 7 key recommendation guide the UCF success. Urban infrastructure financing and private participation encourages cities to leverage bonds, loans, and PPS. This model aims to make urban infrastructure bankable and attractive to investor. The proposed partial credit guaranteed fund by NABFID will support municipal debt markets, transparent revenue management, political will to implement user pay charges are crucial. It helps in strengthening municipal credit worthiness, which is essential for future investment. Next news, which is a very important news about the stunting cases increasing in India, means that child height is decreasing in India. The problem of child stunting in India remains public health challenge. It becomes a public health challenge. Despite the launch of Posan Abhiyan scheme in 2018, it aims to reduce stunting by 2% points annually. The reduction has been minimal. The 2025 data reveals that 37% of children under 5 are stunted, means poor in height, only slightly lower than 38.4% recorded in 2016. According to the 2025 data, it reveals that 37% of children under 5 are stunted, only slightly lower than the 38.4% recorded in 2016, only slightly lower than. This slow progress marks deep rooted systemic issues affecting child nutrition and growth. About stunting and its impact, stunting refers to a children's being short in height, too short for their age due to chronic malnutrition. It signals long term deprivation affecting physical and cognitive development, mental, physical, social development. Stunted children face higher risk of poor education, low productivity, and poverty in adulthood. Nearly half of stunted children are born small, indicating prenatal factors at play. About maternal health and early childhood care is required. Maternal health is crucial for preventing stunting. Teenage pregnancies and anemia during pregnancy increase risk. Young mothers often lack the physical maturity and resources to support healthy child growth. Despite laws against child marriage, adolescent pregnancies persist with nearly 7% of women aged between 15 to 19 having begun childbearing. Maternal education strongly influences child nutrition outcomes, with stunting rates nearly double among children of uneducated mothers compared to those with educated mothers. Stunting, wasting, and underweight. It is a data which showing about the stunting, wasting, and underweight. So, commensurate with global and regional trends, India continues to show a reduction in stunting and recorded 1.6 crore fewer stunted children under 5 years in 2022 as compared to 2011, according to the joint malnutrition estimate released by UNICEF, WHO, and World Bank. Stunting in India affects approximately 35.5% of children under 5, a rate lower than previous year but is still significant, with the burden concentrated in the states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and disproportionately impact the poor, SC/ST tribes and those in rural areas. So it leads to irreversible physical and cognitive damage, negatively impacting school performance and future adult income. While efforts like Posan Abhiyan program and integrated child development services aim to address it, sustained multi-sectoral efforts focusing on women's health, sanitation, socioeconomic disparities, which are important for long-term improvement. So India has the highest number of children suffering from short height, stunted growth in the world, according to the given in the reports. On other countries are Nigeria and Pakistan ranked second and third with 10.3 and 9.8 million stunted children respectively. So stunting, which is a consequence of malnutrition in the first 2 years of child life, is largely irreversible. It's not possible to reverse it. So it also affects child mental growth, cognitive development, social development, physical development. So persisting challenges: India saw 1.6 crore fewer stunted children under 5 years in 2022 compared with 2012. Despite reduced stunting, wasting remains is an issue with a prevalence ratio of a rate of 18.7% in 2022 in India. Prevalence of overweight children increased from 2.2% in 2012 to 2.8% in 2022 in India. So global stunting declined from 26.3% in 2012 to 22.3% in 2022. But obesity increased from 5.5% to 5.6%. So it is also alarming. Wasting is a low weight for height. Wasting is low weight for height, and stunting means low height for age. So both are significant because of the this problem is because of the malnutrition in India. So India's stunting rates have declined significantly as of July 2025 according to UN report. So nutrition and breastfeeding practices are required. Poor diet dominated by carbohydrates and low protein intake contribute to stunting. Only 11% of children under 2 receive a minimum acceptable diet combining diversity and frequency. Breastfeeding rates are suboptimal. Only 65% of infants under 6 months are exclusively breastfed. Caesarean deliveries are increasing, rising to over 22% in 2021. Disturb early breastfeeding initiation, affecting infant nutrition also. There are some socioeconomic disparities which limits maternity leave and breastfeeding support for working mothers. So this is also problem for working mothers. Now next, about the sanitation and environmental factors also. Unsafe water, poor sanitation exacerbate malnutrition. Now, open defecation persists in 19% of households, contaminating water sources and causing repeated infection. So, this infection impair nutrient absorption nutrient absorption, creating a vicious cycle of illness and malnutrition. So, children in unsanitary environments are more vulnerable to stunting. About there are some systematic barriers and socioeconomic dimension. Stunting reflects broader social inequalities, poverty, low education, inadequate healthcare access create these persistent barriers. So, protein and macronutrient rich food remain inaccessible to many, especially in tribal and poor communities. So government programs have introduced some improvements such as eggs in Anganwadi meals, yet coverage and quality remain inadequate. So it is about the stunting prevalence in India, percentage of stunted children in India, and about the states are given. Now next news is West Bengal launches Sarmasri scheme for migrant workers. So West Bengal Chief Minister recently announced Sarmasri scheme. It aims to support migrant workers returning to the state after facing harassment elsewhere. So this scheme offers a monthly stipend of rupees 5,000 for up to 1 year only, up to 1 year. So it also provides access to other state welfare benefits such as ration card and free healthcare under the Swasth Sathi scheme. Under the Swasth Sathi scheme. About the thousand of Bengali speaking migrant workers have faced detention and harassment in various states across India. So many were asked to prove their citizenship, with some even deported to Bangladesh before being repatriated. So despite these challenges, many migrants returned to their workplaces due to limited job opportunities in West Bengal. So the state government brought into light that around 10,000 workers have returned in recent months. So this is the reason West Bengal Chief Minister announced the Sarmasri scheme to offers a monthly stipend of rupees 5,000 for up to 1 year. The scheme targets only all 22 lakh 40,000 migrant workers from West Bengal currently outside the state. So worker can register the Sarmasri portal to online portal to receive a card that grant access to benefits. The monthly financial help of rupees 5,000 is given to support them until they find employment. So families of migrant workers will also benefit from the government welfare programs. So returning workers must register their names on the official portal to get these benefits. The scheme is designed to ease their reintegration into the state's economy and social framework. The government plans to facilitate their access to essential services and social security. Next news is Lipu Lake Pass disputes. India announced the resumption of broader trade with China. India announced the resumption of border border trade with China. Border trade with China through the pass. The name of that pass is Lipu Lake Pass in Uttarakhand. India announced the resumption of border trade with China through the Lipu Lake Pass in Uttarakhand. Nepal objected strongly, claiming the area as its territory. India rejected Nepal's objection, citing historical evidence and long-standing trade practices since 1954. The dispute involved the Tri-Junction region of Kalapani, Limpia, Dhura, and Lipu Lake, which Nepal includes in its official map and constitution. India insists the claims are baseless and invites Nepal for open dialogue to resolve outstanding boundary issues. About India-Nepal border, India-Nepal border was defined by 1816 Sugauli Treaty, which set the Kali River as the boundary. Nepal claims the river source lie at Limpi Yadhura, placing Kalapani and Lipu Lake within its territory. India argues the river originates further downstream, making this areas part of Uttarakhand. Both countries depend on British era maps to support their claims. The dispute has continued since the 1960s without final conclusion resolution. What are the significance of Luplex Pass? Is a strategic mountain pass connecting India and China. It serves as a route for the annual Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage. The route to the pass was upgraded by India in 2020 to improve accessibility for pilgrims and traders. This road enhances India's strategic presence near the line of actual control with China. So this pass also facilitates help India-China border trade during summer month. About diplomatic development and tension, Nepal objection intensified after India's road construction and the resumption of trade through Lipu Lake. Nepal's government insists that these actions violate bilateral agreement to resolve disputes through dialogue. India maintains that trade through Lipu Lake has been ongoing for decades, that Nepal's claim lack historical basis. Diplomatic talks have been proposed but delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic and political factors. About India, China, Nepal, tri-junction dynamics. The tri-junction area holds strategic importance for India in between growing amid growing China influence in South Asia. India deployed border security forces in Kalapani after the 1962 war with China. Nepal views this as encroachment. China remains officially neutral but supports India-China trade expansion through Lipu Lake. The region's strategic value has increased due to geopolitical tension and infrastructure development by India and China. What impact on India-Nepal relation? The border dispute has strained India-Nepal relation. Nepal's perception of India's action as unilateral has increased disbelief, distrust. Political changes in Nepal, especially under Prime Minister KP Sharma Ali, have seen a tilt towards China. India's perceived support for blockades in Nepal and border disagreements have further complicated ties. Despite open borders and people to people contact, diplomatic engagement remains cautious and sensitive. Next news is India's new online gaming bill. The government of India introduced bill number 110 of 2025 titled the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill in the Lok Sabha. Passed swiftly, the bill marks swift from the earlier Information Technology Intermediary Rules of 2023. It aims to regulate online gaming but imposes a blanket ban on real money gaming formats. So this move threatens the future of Indian online gaming startups and foreign direct investment in the sector. The bill was introduced amid ongoing confusion over definition of gambling and betting by various states. Courts, including high courts and supreme courts, have previously outtuned state bans on real money games. Despite this, the bill proposes a comprehensive ban on online games involving any form of monetary stakes. It still encourages e-sports, educational games, social gaming, but prohibits real money gaming operation, discouraging prohibiting real money gaming operation. Key provision of the India's new online gaming bills. The bill bans offering, operating, facilitating, advertising, promoting, or participating in online mini games. It includes any payment, deposit, or stakes with expectation of monetary returns. It targets game operation operating across state borders or from foreign jurisdiction. Banks and financial institutions are barred from facilitating transactions related to online money gaming. So the bill establishes an authority empowered to classify games and enforce regulation. There are some penalties and enforcement. Violation attract strict penalties. Operating online money games can lead to imprisonment also up to 3 years and fines up to rupees 1 crore. Advertising such services carries imprisonment up to 2 years and fines up to 50 lakh. Financial facilitation offenses also attract similar punishment. Companies and responsible individuals face prosecution under Clause 11, ensuring accountability at all levels. There are some impact on industry and economy also. The bill aims to address issues like gaming, addiction, debt, fraud, and national security risk. However, it risks harming legitimate Indian startups that contribute to tax revenue and employment. The ban could push users towards illegal offshore platforms, increasing unregulated activity. The industry estimates a loss of rupees 20,000 crore in tax revenue and disruption of rupees 6,000 crore allied sector involving advertising and infrastructure. About industry response and responsible gaming initiative, gaming bodies like All India Gaming Federation and Federation of India Fantasy Sports have adapted codes promoting responsible gaming. This include age verification, spending limits, self-execution, and user education. Voluntary framework advocates safeguards over bans. So this industry urges the government to consider balanced regulation empowering user rather than imposing blanket prohibition. So the bill awaits passage in the Rajya Sabha and may face legal challenges given past court ruling. A pending Supreme Court case on goods and service tax for online gaming holds potential to redefine the sector's fiscal frameworks. Next news is about the renaming Jalalabad in Uttar Pradesh. The Ministry of Home Affairs approved the renaming of Jalalabad town in Shahjahanpur district, Uttar Pradesh to Parsa, uh, Parsarampuri in 2025. So this decision reflects a move to honor the region's cultural and religious heritage linked to Lord Parsuram, the sixth avatara, who is sixth avatara Vishnu. The change has been welcomed by local leaders and religious figures, marking shift in the town's identity. So Jalalabad was established around 1560 and named after Mughal Emperor Jalal ud Din Muhammad Akbar. The town has a history tied to Mughal era and was developed as a tourist destination starting in 2016. The name symbolizes the Mughal legacy in the region. What are the reason for renaming? The renaming proposal arose from local demands to replace a name linked to Gulami or slavery with one reflecting indigenous culture. So residents and leaders sought to honor Lord Parsuram, believed to have been born in the area. The change signifies respect for Sanatan Dharma and local religious sentiments. Government approval process. The Ministry of Science and Technology also recommend the proposal. Ministry of Home Affairs to approve the name change. Uttar Pradesh government also formally requested the Ministry of Home Affairs. After official scrutiny, the central government gave its NOC in August 2025. The state government was directed to issue a gazetted notification in multiple language for formal implementation. Religious significance: the town hosts several ancient temples and religious sites. Parsurampur is regarded as the mythological birthplace of Lord Parsuram. So the renaming reinforces the area's identity as a center of Sanatan Dham, faith and tradition. About future development, it will be published in Hindi, English, and regional languages. The government will update records accordingly and promote the town under its new name. This may boost religious tourism and local pride. Next news is Jan Viswas Bill 2025. The Government of India introduced the Jan Viswas Amendment of Provision Bill 2025 in the Lok Sabha. The bill proposes amendment to 355 provision across 16 central acts. Its primary objective is to ease the applicability of laws by decriminalizing 288 minor offenses and amending 67 provision to promote ease of living. The bill builds on the Jan Biswas Act 2023, which decriminalized 183 provision in 42 central acts. The bill has been referred to a select committee for detailed examination. About Jan Viswas Bill 2025 is a part of the government's ongoing effort to simplify laws and reduce regulatory burdens. The 2023 Act was the first consolidated legislation aimed at decriminalizing minor offenses to encourage trust-based governance. The 2025 bill extends this effort by targeting more provision and introducing proportionate penalties. The government emphasizes minimum government, maximum governance to improve ease of doing business and ease of living. About the key provisions and amendments, the bill proposes decriminalization of 288 minor offenses by replacing imprisonment clauses with warnings or monetary penalties for 76 offenses under 10 acts. First time contravention will attract advisory or warning only. Penalties will be proportionate and escalate with repeated violation. Monetary fines will increase by 10% every 3 years after enactment. The amendments cover diverse law, including the Motor Vehicle Act 1988 and the New Delhi Municipal Code. Now, impact on governance and business. What are the impact on governance and business? By reducing fear of imprisonment for minor infraction, the bill aims to boost business confidence and growth. It seeks to reduce judicial burden by encouraging settlement through compounding, adjudication, and administrative mechanism. So this will save time, resources for individual and businesses also. It also supports business process re-engineering and modernization of regulatory frameworks in India socio-economic context. It also improves ease of living, enhance ease of living through regulatory reforms. It recognizes the role of technology in transforming compliance and governance. It also seen as a vital in India's Amrit Kal phase of development. What about the legislative process? The Jan Biswas Bill 2025 was introduced by the Union Commerce and Industry Minister in the Lok Sabha. So the Speaker referred it to a select committee for detailed scrutiny. The committee is expected to submit its report by the first day of next parliament session. So this step ensure wider consultation and refinement before the bill is passed into law. Next news is Chief Election Commissioner removal process explained. The Election Commissioner of India remains under scrutiny and allegation of electoral fraud. Opposition parties are considered a motion to remove the Chief Election Commissioner. This has raised renewed interest in the constitutional and legal framework governing the appointment and removal of the Election Commission of India, Chief Election Commission, Chief Election Commissioner. The process is designed to ensure the independence and integrity of Chief Election Commission in conducting free and fair election. The Chief Election Commission and other election commissioner are appointed by President of India. This is based on recommendation from three members election committees. The committee include Prime Minister, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Union Cabinet Minister. Candidate must have held secretary level government post and possesses integrity and election management experience. The tenure is 6 years or until the age of 65, whichever is earlier. The Chief Election Commissioner receives salary and benefits equal to the Supreme Court judge. About constitutional safeguards for removal, Article 324(5) of Constitutional state that Chief Election Commissioner can only be removed in like manner and on the like ground. In like manner and on the like ground as a Supreme Court judge. This means removal requires proven misbehavior or incapacity. The process demands a motion in Parliament, inquiry and a two-third majority vote in both houses is required. The president then orders the removal without discretion. Other election commissioner can only be removed on the Chief Election Commission recommendation. There are some legal provision in the 2023 Act. The Chief Election Commissioner and the Other Election Commissioner Act 2023 replaces the 1991 Act. It details qualification, appointment procedures, tenure, salary, and removal. The Act establishes a search committee headed by the Law Minister to shortlist candidates. The selection committee recommends appointment, reappointment is prohibited. Reappointment is prohibited. Legal protection shield the CEC and ECs from civil or criminal proceeding for official acts. There are some challenges to election commission autonomy. Concern exists about government influence due to composition of selection committee. The removal process for EC is unlike the CEC, depend on the CEC recommendation. The act does not bar retired commissioner from future government posts, raising question about impartiality. The ECI lack an independent workforce and depends on government staff affecting operational autonomy. About operational emergency challenges is also there. ECI faces issues like duplicate electoral rolls, voter exclusion, electoral malpractices such as booth capturing, voter turnout is affected by internal migration and other barriers. Security concern in sensitive region persist. New challenges include combating disinformation, fake news, AI-generated deep fakes on social media platforms. Some reforms and the way forward. Supreme Court's ruling suggest a collegium system, including the Chief Justice of India, to enhance appointment transparency. Recommendation call for equal removal procedures for all commissioner and bearing post retirement government jobs. Stabilizing an independent ECI secretariat is urged to strengthen autonomy. Legalizing the model code of conduct would improve enforcement. So technological innovation like remote voting machine and AI tools for detecting misinformation are proposed to modernize election. Next news is Bering Strait shipping cooperation amid political strains. Recent research reveals that mariners navigating the Bering Straits are largely adhering to the 2018 shipping guidelines. So, these guidelines established through the joint United States-Russia initiative under the International Maritime Organization. help in promoting safe and environmentally responsible transit in the sensitive Arctic region. So, recent research reveals mariners navigating the Bering Strait, which are largely adhering to the 2018 shipping guidelines, which is this guideline established through a joint United States Russia collaboration under the International Maritime Organization. Despite escalating geopolitical tension, especially following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, this study marks a rare instance of quiet cooperation between the two nations in a critical maritime corridor. About the geographical significance of Bering Strait, Bering Strait is the northernmost part of the Pacific Ocean. It separates Asia and North America and connects the Bering Sea to the Chukchi Sea in the Arctic Ocean. So, as it nourished, the strait is 85-kilometer wide between Cape Prince of Wales in Alaska and Cape Dezhnev in Russia. So, it is relatively shallow and averaging 50 meters in depth. The state include key islands like the Diamond Islands, Big Diamonds, Little Diamonds, divided by the international dateline, and State Lawrence Islands, with State Lawrence Island being the sixth largest in the United States. About 2018 shipping guidelines and companies, IMO introduced voluntary shipping rules in 2018 to protect the fragile environments. These guidelines recommend specific shipping lanes and areas to avoid, especially ecologically sensitive zones. The recent study covering 2015 to 2022 data shows strong compliance by cargo vessel and tankers and tanks. Frequent transit ships demonstrate higher adherence, indicating awareness, responsibility among regular mariners. The shift away from sensitive areas helps protect marine mammals and migratory birds. So, increasing maritime traffic and environmental concerns, ship traffic in the Bering Straits had nearly tripled from 242 transit in 2010 to 65 in 2025. So, this rise intensify risk to the ecosystem and indigenous communities also. Local residents of Little Diomede report changes in their beaches due to increased ship proximity steep movements. So, about political context and Arctic cooperation, political relations between the United States and Russia have deteriorated sharply since 2022. So, declining sharply since 2022. Russia's exclusion from forums such as Arctic Council marks diplomatic rift. Despite these historical precedents, so that cooperation on Arctic safety and conservation can persist even during tense time as seen during the Cold War. Experts suggest expanding protected areas in the state, including creating buffer zones around the Diomede Islands to improve environmental safeguards. Stabilizing new designated with the how to improve it, so it to stabilize a new designated avoidance zones could reduce environmental stress and protect indigenous interest. Maintaining open channels for dialogue on maritime safety and ecology could prevent disaster and encourage long term collaboration despite many political changes. Next news is about the modern technology for sustainable forest management. Modern technology for sustainable forest management include remote sensing like LIDAR, satellite imagery, drones, smart sensor, that is green boards, artificial intelligence, geographic information system to monitor forest health, detect illegal activities such as logging, fires, estimate biomass and carbon stock, and optimize resource allocation for efficient eco-friendly forest management and conservation. So as per the 18th India State of Forest Report 2023, Madhya Pradesh has the largest forest cover in India, but also reported the highest deforestation rate. So India's forest and tree cover is 25.17%, significantly below the 33% target set by National Forest Policy 1988. About artificial intelligence based real time forest alert system, RTFAS is a cloud based AI system. RTFAS cloud-based AI system, artificial intelligence system that integrates satellite technology, machine learning, real-time monitoring to combat deforestation, to take care of deforestation. So it uses Google Earth engine to analyze multi-temporal satellite data and detect land use changes through a custom artificial intelligence model, which help in with this technology help in sustainable forest management. So role of technology for sustainable forest management: AI algorithms, carbon stock and biodiversity, spectral imaging are used, forest carbon management, ISRO resource cost monitor forest health and deforestation. AI algorithm is there preventing forest fire also with the help of AI camera and thermal sensor to detect smoke and heat to trigger early fire alerts. FireSat is as a constellation of satellites dedicated entirely to detecting and tracking forest fires. Drones provide live feeds to help firefighting and monitor fire hazards like pine needle buildup. Combating it helps in combating encroachment also. Satellite based system like RTFAS, satellite based system name is RTFAS, send notification to forest officer within 2 3 days when unauthorized activities are detected. Mitigating human wildlife, it also help in mitigating human wildlife conflict with the help of AI enabled camera traps and GPS tracking. So poacher camera is an advanced camera equipped with a poacher camera, a specialized human detection algorithm that can remotely notify anti-poaching teams of nearby intruders. RFID tags and geofencing alert is also used by the official when elephants or tigers stray into human settlements. So forest restoration and afforestation, green boards can be deployed to track tree growth, soil health, environmental changes. Then biodiversity monitoring for acoustic sensor like rainforest connection, use AI to recognize bird and frog sounds and track endangered species in the forest like Amazon forest. Environmental DNA from water or soil sample detects genetic traces of species like fish and amphibians, which help in monitoring invasive or rare aquatic life. So, with the help of this technology, environmental DNA. So, there is a need of sustainable forest development to take care of climate change mitigation. Industry and trade necessity is required. So the UE carbon border adjustment mechanism, effective from 2026, will impose tariffs on carbon intensive imports, and that imports increase tariff on carbon intensive imports, steel, cement, aluminium from India and other countries. Afforestation becomes vital for reducing the carbon intensity of exports, helping lower CBAM tariffs and sustain trade competitiveness. It also help in ecosystem, improving ecosystem health and economic and social benefits also, providing timbers, fuel wood, agroforestry. So also increasing income sources for rural community. So initiative taken by India for sustainable forest development is Green India Mission, the National Agroforestry Policy, which encourages tree planting on private farmland to reduce pressure. Then Tree Outside Forest in India program, so encourages tree planting on non-forest lands. Next is the compensatory afforestation fund reforestation where forests are diverted for industrial use. Next program is need of corporate and community efforts are also required. CSR driven plantation is taken place. Agroforestry for livelihoods are also taken place. Farmer integrates timber, fruit, medicinal plants with crops for additional income. It's also provides carbon credit, take carbon credit strategies. Industries invest in afforestation to earn carbon credits, reduce carbon emissions. So how India can impose sustainable forest management to strengthen carbon market? So establishing a national carbon credit registry and regulatory framework under the Article 6 of Paris Agreements. So in this way, India can improve sustainable forest management to fully leverage its forest stored carbon in the global market carbon market and incentive both public and private afforestation efforts. It also enhances industry participation, mandate carbon offset plantation for high emission industries like steel and plants, offer tax benefit also. It support rural communities also, expand joint forest management programs and provide training and market access for forest based products. It also help in improving monitoring and compliance. So, with the help of satellite technology, monitor afforestation progress and enforce strict penalties for violating forest conservation laws. So, in this way, the government are trying to improve sustainable forest management. So, these are about the 55 news from 16 to 23rd August. The next series I'm going to upload within few days on 31st of last day of August month. Stay consistent. Kindly watch the next series. Thanks for watching. Best of luck for your coming exam. Keep revising.